We've seen the crypto strategic reserve get announced.
Yeah.
Do you think that the United States should start mining Bitcoin as well? Like, should we use government resources and or energy that the government controls right now?
I think it would be a great opportunity. The United States is one of the largest, energy resources in the world. And I think it's just a matter of our government being, efficient at doing that. Some of these other countries like Bhutan and El Salvador, they have, I think they can pivot and move much quicker compared to our government. But yeah, it's a massive opportunity, and that kind of just plays into the, the long-term game theory of Bitcoin. We're seeing it play out.
What's going on, guys? Today we've got a great episode with Adam Haynes. He's the founder and CEO of Simple Mining. In this conversation, we talk about what's going on with hash rate, how that affects the efficiency of these Bitcoin miners, what Simple Mining is, how they built the business, what his background is that led him to actually get into the mining game. And then we talk about the geopolitical concerns around Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining, which countries are mining Bitcoin, who's holding it, and whether the United States should actually get into the mining game or not. This and much more if you listen to this entire episode. And so here is my latest conversation with Adam Haynes. All right, Adam, I thought a great place to start the conversation is hash rate has been exploding higher. Bitcoin's price has been going higher, and miners seem to be investing very heavily in growing their kind of portion of the network. But we know that Bitcoin tends to be very volatile. And so it's kind of this big buildup in a bull market. There's usually some sort of crash. During that crash, miners have to shut off machines. Some miners go out of business. It's kind of this game that gets played over and over and over again. What is different, maybe, as you guys look at it? Are miners being a little bit more cautious? Is hash rate or price having a different impact? How do you see where we are right now in Bitcoin's life cycle that may be different than past cycles?
Yeah, I think that this is, certainly like any other business, this is a hard business. If you looked, back in the last few years, we saw lots of bankruptcies, lots of companies taking out significant leverage, getting over leveraged, and getting totally wiped out with the drawdown. So I think you're seeing a little bit more intelligent investment. Certainly, everybody's continuing to look for the lowest power cost, but I think everybody, like you and I know that in the long term, we're very bullish about Bitcoin, and hash rate has continued to kind of prove that. The market is very long-term bullish on Bitcoin. So continuing to make a little bit more strategic investments in lower cost of energy long term. Maybe being a little bit more careful with debt and leverage. I think is something that we're seeing going on currently.
And talk to me about, you guys are in the business of selling mining equipment. You guys repair mining equipment. One of the things that I've always thought was pretty interesting is there's kind of the depreciation from an accounting perspective. And then there's like the actual, life cycle of this machinery. And that has a huge impact on how much should I be buying today? How long is that going to last me? What do you guys see there? Like how long do these machines actually last for that are being bought today?
Yeah. So our business is, hosting, repairs, and the sales of, we're kind of a vertically integrated service provider in the Bitcoin mining segment. There's two different ways to look at it. You can look at it for the lifespan of a machine from just physical, is it able to operate? And with our repair, team, we can service a machine and bring anything back to life. And it could run indefinitely. What you come down to is the economics of the machine. And certainly at some point in time, the Bitcoin that machine is producing is not going to cover the electricity expense associated with running it. So there's a certain lifespan there. We've seen, generally speaking, in the 5-year range, historically, possibly a little bit longer. As you're seeing over the last several years, the machines have gotten, much more efficient. Up to, about 12 joules per terahash currently is the most efficient machine on the market today. When we first got started about 4 years ago, we were in the 35 joules per terahash range. So we've seen a substantial increase in the efficiency of the machines, and we're expecting that to be diminishing over time. To continue to, advance at that pace is pretty difficult. So there's some people that are expecting that the lifespan could be a little bit longer, but obviously that comes down to the network difficulty and the price of Bitcoin ultimately.
When you talk to these miners, how much of their machines are having to get repaired versus they just let them run?
Yeah, it's we have across our facilities 20,000 machines running at several different sites in Iowa. Certainly on a percentage basis, it is a low percentage. For the most part, these machines do just run 24/7, 365. However, any computer that's running 24/7 is inevitably going to probably have issues. Now, whether that's a small issue like a fan or a power supply failure, or a more advanced, chip failure on the actual hash board, where our technicians have to go in and do that advanced microsoldering repair, there's a decent amount of repairs that take place. And that's why I think the repair side that we bring is such an important, value add.
And you guys are doing this for a lot of the publicly traded miners and private companies as well?
Yeah. So we have a repair facility in Cedar Falls, Iowa. We have the capacity to fix several thousand hash boards per month. We work with some of the largest public and private companies across the country. They'll send their machines to us. We'll fix them. We'll test them, and then send them back out. In addition to doing all of the repairs for our own clients as well.
Got it. And then there's been a huge push into artificial intelligence and high performance computing. What are you guys seeing there with your customers? And is this something where you guys could also help on some of the non-Bitcoin mining side, or is it just stay focused 100% on Bitcoin?
Yeah, we're focused on Bitcoin right now. It's my personal opinion that the AI, HPC, high power compute stuff is a little bit overblown. There's a lot, you're looking at the, Mag 7 companies, the largest companies in the world that are really making heavy investments into this space. And I don't know if there's a true, business case at this point in time. Very optimistic about AI long term. I think that there's going to be, an enormous amount of productivity gains and, certainly very optimistic about the future of AI. However, I think today, over the course of the next, certainly 2-3 years, it would be, possibly we could look back and see this period would be a period of malinvestment where, we're just throwing money to see what works. And there's no, clear, revenue or, customer where that investment is going to, make sense.
And in that world, how do you all evaluate when maybe, okay, hey, it does make sense to do AI related stuff versus just stick with Bitcoin mining?
Yeah, I think it'll come down to if we're seeing demand for it. Naturally speaking, you are seeing, especially across some of the larger public companies, Core Scientific, for example, they have some big contracts with CoreWeave, but that's pretty isolated. And, there's several other companies that are working in the space. And I think it's, as far as the public image goes and the public companies, they need to do certain things to, maybe from a press release standpoint or, whatever it may be, at least consider those options.
You think a lot of it is just kind of fluff, that there's not actually as much reality in the AI stuff?
Yeah. Again, I think long term that there certainly will be some good opportunity there. I think maybe on our side of things, we've seen, no demand, and it's not really something that we're pursuing actively. I think that would potentially change if we, over the long term, somebody contacted us, said, hey, we have a lot of, GPUs we need to plug in, H100s, and we don't have anywhere we can plug them in at. I think a lot of that demand is being fulfilled currently by, the large public companies and so on and so forth. So maybe not a perfect fit for our business. Certainly we'll evaluate it. And I think that if the market has a demand there over the long term, certainly it's something that we would. I
saw recently that Microsoft was canceling some of their data center contracts, which I thought was pretty interesting. What, you think they just ran out, signed too many of them, and realized that maybe they don't need all of them?
Yeah, well, in the AI world, I think we're just in the early innings still. It's kind of trying to see through the fog. The DeepSeek thing happened a few weeks ago, and there's still not perfect clarity on maybe exactly how all that played out. But you certainly wonder if it could get into a situation where the AI investment is in data center overbuilt, and if it becomes overbuilt, where's the demand going to be for all of that compute power? Certainly, like I said, a lot of these large companies are making investments into their large language models and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, where is that demand going to be? It's kind of like if you go back 20, 25 years ago, like there's a cost to do a Google search, and that cost is trended towards, basically zero over time. And I think, AI, certainly there's going to be more costs there, especially now, but over time, that cost is going to continue to trend towards zero too as well.
When you look out at the Bitcoin mining kind of landscape, it seems like energy detractors are still loud and being annoying, but ERCOT and other maybe electrical grid providers, they are very much pro Bitcoin mining, and they seem to see a value there. If I remember correctly, there's also been a at least pilot with some of the larger oil and gas companies where they're trying to see, hey, is there something that we should be doing here with this technology? How do you see this all kind of playing out in the incumbent world? Like, there's people who will go set up a native Bitcoin mining facility, and they'll say, hey, look, it's purpose built to mine Bitcoin. We're going to consume power at the lowest cost we possibly can find, and we're off to the races. But it does feel like to go from, kind of like 101 or 201 class to the upper level, you have to start to interface with the legacy world and kind of get scale. We see Bitcoin do this with Wall Street now with the ETFs, and obviously that's been a big boom. Is there an equivalent thing like that in Bitcoin mining?
Yeah, I'd say, as it specifically relates to our facilities, we have, unique curtailment strategies and agreements where during those peak times, we will actually curtail our operations. We can shut down 98% of our load within 120 seconds to help support the grid during maybe the hottest days of the year where everybody's running their air conditioner, coldest days of the year where everybody's running their heaters, so on and so forth. And I think that those are going to be, especially as it relates to new energy production, renewables such as wind and solar. If the sun's not shining, the wind's not blowing, the energy still has to come from somewhere. They're forecasting capacity constraints in 2028. Now, fortunately, that won't affect our business because we have, the ability to be reactive and shut down very quickly in those times where, demand is maybe exceeding the capacity for generation. On the AI side, unfortunately, they need that demand all the time because they can't just turn on and off their, AI data facility. So I think that's only going to become more and more important over time. The relationship with the grid operators, such as, like you said, ERCOT, MISO, in our case, SPP, so on and so forth, where the closer and better we can be an asset to them to react to these different situations is going to be a really long-term benefit. And over the last 4 years, specifically in Iowa, it's gone from kind of a small, niche, unique situation to you have a full-blown industry now. And, we're talking about, hundreds of megawatts across the state of Iowa, let alone in Texas where you're talking gigawatts. So yeah, I think long-term, those agreements will continue to be very important.
When you look at the hardware itself, there's been immense amount of innovation on that front. Liquid immersion is obviously this huge, kind of trend that I think it's really becoming the default or the popular kind of approach. Talk about the hardware and what you guys are seeing there in terms of dropping the cost, but also this efficiency that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. So there's, just like any other technology out there in the world, they're continuing to try and make improvements all the time. Right now, I would say the market is probably, 85% air cooled, globally, if we were to look. It's cheap, it's easy to do, so on and so forth. We are seeing a push towards more hydro. We're actually in the process of building a 50 megawatt hydro facility in Iowa with our partner Alps Blockchain. We're really excited about that project. I think it's a new technology that possibly will reduce the number of issues. It's a little bit more reliable. You don't have the dust getting into the hash boards, potentially causing corrosion and those sorts of issues. So we could see benefits from the reliability standpoint of the hardware. And then I think that, there's also some other components to it as well, where the hydro is also maybe a little bit easier from a, local approval standpoint, because there's a little bit less noise from the hydro as well.
And hydro, what advantage is there to using that?
It's just it's able to cool the hash boards more directly, and it's a little bit more efficient system. Now there's some additional costs and maybe some additional plumbing required to do that, but Really, it's just a newer way of doing it where maybe you can get a little bit more efficiency out of the machines.
So you're not talking about hydro like the power generation. You're talking about hydro in terms of
Yes.
the actual liquid cooling.
Exactly. So this, like our project that we're working on is a dry, it's a closed loop system. So we have a liquid that goes into a dry cooler. That liquid then passes through each individual machine. That cool liquid gets warmed up from the machines, goes back into the dry cooler. That dry cooler cools the liquid back down, so on and so forth. So yeah, not hydro from a power generation standpoint, but actually a liquid that is used to cool the individual machines in the containers.
And how much or how large can a facility handle, with liquid cooling versus air cooling? If you have 50 megawatts, is it the same number of machines? Today's episode is brought to you by NASDAQ-listed Bitdeer. They trade under the stock ticker BTDR. They're led by a seasoned management team. Bitdeer is a global leader in Bitcoin mining and high-performance computing for artificial intelligence, and they are backed by technological innovation and a massive 2.5 gigawatt global power portfolio. Recently, Bitdeer launched its own Bitcoin mining ASICs named the Seal Miner to target what Wall Street analysts project to be a multi-billion-dollar annual market. Their proprietary Seal Miner ASICs are redefining efficiency and performance, and they are backed by the industry's most advanced chip roadmap, with 2 more groundbreaking models set to launch in 2025. To learn more about Bitdeer's cutting-edge technology and business, visit their website at bitdeer.com. That's BITDEER.com. Go check out Bitdeer today.
The hydro machines are actually a little bit higher power capacity. We're seeing them around the 5 kilowatt range, even a little bit more, versus the air cooled machines are traditionally closer to 3 to 3.5. So you get a little bit more density there. There is a little bit larger footprint required as far as the number of, you have to have a cooling tower for the dry cooler, so on and so forth. So perhaps a little bit larger real estate footprint. But more or less, it's pretty similar.
And then what about costs, right? If you want to go and do air cooling versus liquid
cooling?
cooling?
Traditionally, the air cooled has been a little bit more cost effective. Certainly, it's all you have to really worry about is exhaust fans at that point in time. You don't have to worry about any cooling towers, plumbing equipment, so on and so forth. Special liquids used here. So it's potentially a little bit more cost effective to do the air cool, but we're starting to see the cost come down on the hydro. And we're really excited about the project that we're working on currently.
Got it. Talk about your business.
Yeah.
And with Simple Mining, you guys are hosting.
Yep.
You're doing sales of hardware.
Yep.
You do repair of hardware as well?
Yeah, exactly. So we like to think of ourselves as a vertically integrated service provider. We're really trying to offer and make it the easiest place to mine Bitcoin, if you will. So we have clients from all around the world that are, looking to, participate in the service, whether they just want to be a part of the ecosystem or whether they're doing it as a part of a business. There's some unique tax advantages of Bitcoin mining as it relates to depreciation. We've lots of different things, but hosting for clients, and then the repairs, and then the sales of the equipment. We carry inventory. We have machines in stock, so you can go live same day as payment.
And walk me through the economics, right? Mm-hmm. So I come and I say, hey, I want to start mining Bitcoin. What does that look like?
Yeah. So we're really big on, just trying to sell on our service, certainly in the Bitcoin world, as you know, forecasting any sort of return on investment is difficult. And I think our strategy has been more so we're going to be the best service provider as it relates to doing this business. So we're going to have a very high uptime. We're going to provide the repairs. We have the customer service support. So on and so forth to offer the highest level of service possible in this industry.
Well, just walk me through, if let's take one machine, right? So I want to install one ASIC.
Yep.
How much is that going to cost me? Yeah. And then how should I think about what I'm getting from a hash rate standpoint or anything like that? Yeah.
So some of the newest machines out there, there's certainly a range, depending if you want the newest, most efficient machine, or possibly if you want to have an older machine that's a little bit less efficient. In the maybe $5,000 to $9,000 range is currently where the pricing is for some of the newer equipment. Our operations, we charge between 7 and 8 cents for hosting, just depending on capacity. And that value that you're going to get every single day is just going to be a function of where the difficulty is at and the value of the Bitcoin. Obviously, as the price of Bitcoin goes up or down, you're getting a sort of fixed amount on a daily basis, amount of Bitcoin. And then you have your fixed utility cost. And then the thing that varies there is the difficulty adjustment every 2 weeks. You're going to get a little bit less or a little bit more Bitcoin. And then certainly the value of the price of Bitcoin.
So what does that look like over the last 12 months or so? You obviously, it's impossible to predict what's going to happen in the future. When you look over the last 12 months, let's say somebody spends $7,500 on one of these new machines. What has that looked like in terms of payback periods?
Yeah. Historically speaking, and, by no means, obviously things are subject to change in the future, but
things could change tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a while last week.
Yeah, Trump could go announce another strategic reserve.
Yeah. So, we've had some of our clients that have, returned their investment, quote unquote, within 6 months. We've also had some that have certainly taken, if they bought the top of the market and then, rode it all the way down, certainly maybe in the 2-year range, So, there's certainly a time period there. And, as it relates to even just buying Bitcoin, certainly timing is plays a factor in there too as well. I think one thing that, we've seen, and we've conducted some surveys across our clients, is, the emotions and the, of the market, and even as it relates to buying Bitcoin, because that's a common question that we get asked. Should I buy it? Should I mine it? What's the perfect answer there? And I think it's certainly not one or the other. As it relates to mining, I think mining is a great tool where it's a forced DCA. So you're going to get Bitcoin every single day, no matter what. And there's also other advantages that come along with that, such as the depreciation of the equipment. Running it as a business, you still retain that machine as an asset, on your balance sheet, and we have a marketplace where you could sell it at any point in time. And then, what I tell people is if a good buying opportunity presents itself, if you get a nice dip, buy the dip. But as it relates to mining, we've seen and conducted some surveys where a lot of our clients have net ended up with quite a bit more Bitcoin than that they otherwise would have had, just because it removes the emotions from having to buy. When price dips down, we all know, we should be buying, but it is hard to, pull the trigger. So I think that's something that's really interesting about mining as well.
It is the ultimate dollar cost average, right?
Exactly.
I think it makes a lot of sense. What are the challenges with running a business like this? Like, obviously there's hardware, which immediately every software developer is like, I don't know what that means, right? But talk about some of the challenges.
Yeah, I think, it's a really fun business. There certainly is a lot of challenges, as it relates to having thousands and thousands of machines. We have a CTO who's been with me since I started my first company in the cell phone repair world. And we have, several other developers on staff, and we've really tried to build out all of our, software and, dashboard and all those other types of features to optimize our operations. And, especially as it relates to serving, retail clients, where if, somebody has one machine and that one machine offline, it's very critical to get that machine back online quickly. So it's a very difficult business when you're looking at thousands of different machines, different repairs that have to happen, different model types, agreements with the utility company where we need to power down. But I think that we've really, over the last 4 years, built everything from scratch to be able to, really optimize our efficiency across our on-site operations, our repairs, and keeping machines up and running.
And when I think about these businesses, it takes somebody who understands Bitcoin, it takes someone who understands software and hardware.
Yeah.
It also takes someone who has like emotional control because of the ebb and flow of the market. What is your background?
Yeah. So I guess going back a ways, before Simple Mining, my first business was cell phone repair. And that was really born out of, in high school, I dropped my phone and broke it at the pool. And my parents told me, tough luck, you broke it, you have to buy a new one. And I didn't have it. I was in high school, small town Iowa. I grew up a town of 1,000 people in Iowa. They said, tough luck, you gotta fix it yourself. So I figured out how to fix it, and then kind of realized that, how'd
you figure out?
Just YouTube. Yeah, I just went on YouTube, kind of figured out how to fix it. fixed my phone and then realized that maybe I could make a business out of this. This is when I was a sophomore in high school. I think I got a lot of this from my dad. My dad was a grocery store manager. My mom was a nurse. And growing up, my dad was always going and buying cars off Craigslist. He'd buy a car off Craigslist, 1930s Chevy for $500 on Craigslist, and then part it out. And, it'd be me and him in the garage wrapping up old car parts, shipping them to New Zealand. And, that's kind of what he did on the side as a side business. And, I had always wanted to do something like that. I think the phone thing kind of fell in my lap. So after practice in high school, I would sit on the phone and call all across the country to people on Craigslist, having them send their broken iPhone to me, broken iPhone 4s for $40. I'd fix it and then sell it on eBay. So I did that throughout high school. Ended up going to college.
And how does that work? So
yeah.
you buy their phone for $40.
Yeah.
It's broken.
Yeah.
You fix it. And then how much were you reselling them for?
A couple hundred, 200, 250. So parts were, $20-$30. So pretty good margins for, a business out of my room in high school.
Yeah. And you were doing it yourself?
Yeah. Yep. So, kind of did that eBay business, fixed and, I'd go to the local McDonald's and, offer to fix people's phones on Craigslist. There wasn't really a lot of repair shops around at that point in time. So it wasn't a crazy business by any means, but it definitely kept me busy for a high school student. And, I was able to save up some money and so on and so forth. So after high school, I went down to the University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls, where our current headquarters is for Simple Mining. I was there. I was, pre-med. I was computer science, doctor, lawyer, finance and real estate, so on and so forth. And ultimately,
you did all that?
Yeah. I was changed my major, 4 or 5 times when I got down there. After my freshman year, I moved back home and I worked at a cell phone repair place that was about an hour drive. So I commuted an hour every single day over the summer because that's what I knew how to do. Really enjoyed doing that. And by the end of the summer, the owners at that company wanted me to move to a different city where they were opening a new location. And I was like, no, I got to stay in school. That's what my parents want me to do. So ended up going back to school, was there for a short period of time and realized that, I wanted to take that job and I wanted to, because I wasn't getting anywhere in school. I was changing my major. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Ended up taking that position. The plan was to stay in school. But that didn't happen. It was very short-lived. Ended up moving to Mankato, Minnesota, to open this location for them. I convinced the owners of the cell phone repair business to let me sleep in the back of the store for free. So I lived rent-free. I slept in the back of that store for about a year. Right when I got up there, I kind of knew that I wanted to do my own business. And, just focused on saving as much money as I could. I, soup and yogurt every single day, lived rent free. And then in 2017, I moved down to Cedar Falls and opened my first cell phone repair location. So that location went well. We kind of expanded and grew over the next several years. Opened another location shortly after, and then ended up acquiring 5 additional locations across the state and one down in Kansas City after that. COVID happened and, kind of put expansion plans on pause because it was very uncertain times. And one of our employees was actually mining Bitcoin at the time. And I had heard of Bitcoin, but I'd never taken the time to, do a deep dive and, fully understand it. So, like every Bitcoin maxi, you go down the path of reading the Bitcoin Standard and, listening to your podcast and, just going down that rabbit hole and learning more about it, and got very, long-term bullish about Bitcoin and its place in the world and all that good stuff. So then we started looking at how we could possibly, create more Bitcoin, and that led to mining. Iowa is a really beneficial state to do this business. We have, about 2/3 of our energy. It's the highest state in the country for wind power production from a percentage standpoint. So in Iowa, we have a lot of cornfields and a lot of windmills, and that's about it. But very competitive state to do this business. We started mining with a bunch of GPUs in the back of our store, mining Ethereum. Realized that that wasn't the most efficient way to do this business, and started having conversations with our local utility company on how we could possibly do this at a more industrial scale. One thing led to another, and we started mining down there in 2021 with 50 machines, and that's kind of where our journey started.
What was the conversations like with the utility company?
Yeah, I think we were very fortunate in the beginning. The utility company that we first started working with, I think they're very innovative and forward thinking. Certainly there's a lot of utility companies out there we've had conversations with where we call them and say Bitcoin and it's click, hang up the phone. They don't want anything to do with it. But that's certainly greatly improving, over the last few years. You're starting to see a lot more utilities open to it. We have we have several different utility partners across the state, great relationships with all of them. And, they see that this is a business that's here to stay and how mutually beneficial it can be. We usually, when we look to go in and partner with communities and utilities, we look for win-win-win scenarios. So win for the local community is we're going to bring in jobs. It's a win for the utility company. They're going to obviously make a profit off of it. And then it's a win for our company too, as well as we can expand and grow our business.
That makes sense. And then what are some of the lessons that you've learned over the last couple of years kind of doing this, right? Like you come from that repair type background, but obviously Bitcoin is very different. Maybe what are some surprises or lessons learned? Yeah.
It's learned a lot the last few years, certainly. This is it's a fun business. Certainly it ebbs and flows. You're going to have days where Bitcoin price just rips and it's euphoric. And then you're going to have the bear markets where it's, certainly not as fun. So, but I think it's all good long-term opportunities. During the bear market, I think that's a great time to just be accumulating, obviously. And that's, kind of relates back to why I personally like mining a lot. It's just because it's that forced DCA. You're always getting the Bitcoin. But yeah, it's a unique industry. I think it's, you're seeing, this industry is starting to mature. Certainly the last few years, you could have said it was more the wild, wild west. You're starting to see some consolidation and kind of, some industry standards be put in place. And I'm sure there's a lot more growth that has to take place, but it'll be cool to see where things go.
We've seen the crypto strategic reserve get announced. Yeah. Do you think that the United States should start mining Bitcoin as well? Like, should we use government resources and or energy that the government controls right now?
It's no secret that Bitcoin ETFs have taken Wall Street by storm. With over $35 billion in assets in just 1 year, it's become the most successful ETF launch in history. My partner Bitwise is the first and only Bitcoin ETF provider to openly publish its Bitcoin wallet addresses, allowing anyone to verify the fund's holdings. I believe this level of transparency is exactly the kind of innovation that only crypto makes possible. Bitwise is also the only ETF issuer that is a crypto specialist asset manager, meaning their team solely focuses on Bitcoin and they have the research, education, and support to help investors navigate the space with confidence. All of that is great, but what I love most about Bitwise is probably their commitment to developers. Bitwise donates 10% of their ETF's profits to Bitcoin open source developers. Bitcoin developers are the unsung heroes, working tirelessly to maintain, improve, and innovate the blockchain. Their efforts ensure that Bitcoin remains true to its promise as a decentralized system that is built to last. Go to bitwisepomp.com to learn more about their ETF and other services. Once again, that's bitwisepomp.com. bitwisepomp.com. As always, remember investing is risky and carefully consider the extreme risks associated with crypto before you invest. Today's episode is brought to you by Bitcoin OS. They are the ultimate upgrade to Bitcoin. Bitcoiners can now experience the magic of the entire crypto world, including DeFi, scalability, privacy, and more, without giving up control of their hard-earned sats. Powered by revolutionary zero-knowledge technology, Bitcoin OS lets other blockchains plug into Bitcoin, offering their services to the world's largest digital asset. This lets Bitcoin holders securely move their coins across the crypto landscape, turning Bitcoin into a productive, programmable asset. Putting your Bitcoin to work once meant trusting centralized companies and bridges to protect your assets, a model that's lost crypto owners billions to hacks and fraud. Bitcoin OS lets you be your own boss, using a system based on cryptography rather than trust, the way Satoshi intended. Using Bitcoin OS, altcoins are returning home, eager to plug into Bitcoin security, network effects, and $2 trillion capital base. Bitcoin is the first and final boss of all digital assets, and will soon be reborn as the foundation of a united crypto world. Follow Bitcoin OS on Twitter @BTC_OS and be early to Bitcoin again. Follow Bitcoin OS on Twitter today @BTC_OS.
Well, I'd love to say that's a great idea, but also, as it sits right now, the government operates pretty inefficiently. So I don't know how, if they'd be able to do that. I don't know if the government would be able to do that at an efficient scale where it would, it make sense. But I think the, strategic Bitcoin reserve is a great, long-term idea. There's several states that we've seen it get introduced, Iowa being one of them recently. And I think if we can just get, if we can just get a small allocation of Bitcoin in these strategic reserves, it'd be a great long-term situation for the states and for the federal government.
Yeah. Well, it feels like the government, when it comes to energy, is a whole different conversation than like, should we buy, Bitcoin or altcoins or whatever. And things like mitigating flare gas and landfill gas. And, you kind of go through this. That seems way less controversial than maybe which coins are we going to buy.
Right. Yeah, there's several companies out there that are working on the flare gas situation. That adds an additional layer, and I think makes this business pretty difficult. But you can see the opportunity with all the wasted energy out there. So, and as it relates to some of the larger energy producers such as Chevron, BP, so on and so forth, I think that they're evaluating that. And as this industry continues to grow, we're going to need more and more energy. Bitcoin mining industry today is plus or minus 15 gigawatts. I've seen some forecasts, and some of the experts are expecting it to be double that in 5 years. All the way up to 30 gigawatts. It's a lot of energy, and there's plenty of opportunities out there. Including the stranded energy, where either governments around the world we're already seeing taking advantage of that, whether that's, not the United States government right now, but we're seeing governments around the world that are, mining and, or large public and private companies.
Yeah. One of the parts to me that, I think people kind of forgot, I think the UAE has already announced a joint venture with one of the publicly traded miners in the US. They're mining Bitcoin. And it's unclear where the Bitcoin's going.
Yeah.
Right? Is that going on the UAE's balance sheet or not? Russia has come out and said they're mining Bitcoin. They're definitely holding that Bitcoin. They've said that they're holding that Bitcoin. So it does feel like Bhutan, El Salvador, like these countries are mining. The US kind of feels like we're behind a little bit.
Yeah. And that's, I think it would be a great opportunity. The United States is one of the largest, energy resources in the world. And I think it's just a matter of our government being, efficient at doing that. Some of these other countries like Bhutan and El Salvador, they have, I think they can pivot and move much quicker compared to our government. But yeah, it's a massive opportunity, and that kind of just plays into the, the long-term game theory of Bitcoin. We're seeing it play out. And, thinking back even a few years ago to where we are now, interesting to think about where things will be in the next 5-10 years.
Yeah. What do you look forward to the most, or think are like the big milestones that we still have yet to go?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to continuing to build our business. It's a lot of fun. We definitely are in the weeds and, working really hard with our team. And sometimes we have to take a step back and, realize that we're working on, these magic internet money machines every single day. It's a lot of fun. So no, just continuing to, grow the business, look forward, it's a lot of fun working in Bitcoin. So
where can we send people to find out more about Simple Mining?
You can visit our website, simplemining.io. You can visit us on Twitter, at simplemining.io. Visit our LinkedIn page. There's lots of great information there. We're really big on the education piece. So we have a lot of great content on our website, simplemining.io/insights. There's a lot of, information there as it relates to, self-custody of your Bitcoin, how does Bitcoin mining work, even to more advanced stuff like UTXO management. So.
The website is an incredible resource. I think people, they wouldn't expect a company like yours to have really high quality research, but a big part of it probably is the more educated your customers are, the better, one, they view you, but also two, probably the better customer they are.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that we're really big on. We're going to put that, content out, regardless. It's something that we're really passionate about, especially as it relates to, in the early years, we had several clients that had, their funds lost on FTX or Celsius. And, we just really want to promote the education so everybody can be, understand fully what's going on.
That makes sense. Where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me on LinkedIn, Adam Haynes. I'm not very active on Twitter, but LinkedIn, no, but LinkedIn you can find me. So
why not active on X?
Yeah, I should be, but no.
LinkedIn's more your thing.
LinkedIn, yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Simplemining.io.
Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it.